Good evening, fellow commissioners. I am Peter Simpkins, the chair of the commission, and I am calling the Measure J Oversight Commission meeting to order on the night or late afternoon of March 2025. Melissa, can you take roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Gavaderos,
Present.
Commissioner Fedor, Commissioner Isaac,
Present.
Commissioner Schoen, Commissioner Thigpen,
Present.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Present.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Present.
Commissioner Kravitz,
Present.
Commissioner Newby,
Here.
Vice Chair Davis,
Present.
Chair Simpkins.
Present. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, item number 3. Can we stand and face the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. And before we accept it, I'm going to make a motion that we amend the agenda. Over the last couple of months, there has been some publicity about revenue stream for the city of Palm Springs. And so since Chris Mooney, the director of finance, was unable to make the last month's meeting, I thought rather than have him last, it would make sense to have him first. And that means that I would like to amend the agenda to begin with what is currently listed on the agenda as 8D and make that 8A and make the rest of the agenda 8A would become 8B, 8B would become 8C, and the last item would be the Oversight Commission's meeting schedule, and that would become 8D. So I will make that motion and I will need a second. Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. I think we need a roll call vote since it's a. Did we do a roll call
Yes.
vote?
Commissioner Gavaderos,
Yay.
Commissioner Fedor,
Yeah.
Commissioner Isaac,
Yes.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Chair Simpkins,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we have 2 minutes to approve those of January 30, 2025 and February 20, 2025. Let's start with the January 30, 2025 minutes first. Do any of the commissioners have any comments concerning those minutes? Any corrections, modifications? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So move.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? If not, those minutes are approved. Thank you. The February 20, 2025 minutes are also in your materials. Anybody have any amendments or corrections or additions to those minutes? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Is there one?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays? If not, those minutes are approved. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item number 6. That's public comment. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Measure J Commission on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Although the commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it can generally not take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned each speaker. Melissa, can you call the first speaker to the table, please?
Yes, first speaker of the night is Daniel Caldwell, and he will be providing public comment via Zoom. Daniel, can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you perfectly. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Your time
Perfect.
starts now.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairman Sipkins and Commissioners. My name is Daniel Caldwell. Thank you for allowing me to present tonight and again highlight and advocate for First Baptist Church of Palm Springs. First Baptist was established in 1947, which I believe is the first predominantly African American church in Palm Springs. The building we are currently in was constructed in 1964 on the north end of Palm Springs at 588 Rosa Parks. The church is a focal point in the community. In addition to spiritual support, the church provides scholarships, toy drives, and is a gathering place for our senior citizens. I mentioned last month that the seniors play bingo on every Thursday at noon. And again, all the commissioners, you have a standing invitation. Just please join us Thursdays at noon. You'll have a great time. And as our application indicates, we would like to create an amazing computer lab. Less bingo, more computer learning. We would also like to make structural improvements to our building. That is, it's over 60 years old. I think one of the number one priorities would be to renovate and upgrade the bathrooms to be ADA compliant. In closing, the application submitted by First Baptist Church goes hand in hand with the tenets of how Measure J funds should be utilized. And again, I just want to thank you for your consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you,
You're
Daniel.
welcome. Well,
Sorry, Daniel.
I said well under my 3 minutes.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker of the night is Samuel Thompson, and he will provide public comment via Zoom.
Good evening, great council and commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all. I'm Sam Thompson, deacon and trustee at First Baptist Church, where I've been serving for over a decade. I think this year makes my 13th year with the church. Lucky number 13. Thank you for considering us for future funding by Measure J. We're excited that we've been a pillar in this community, as you heard from Brother Caldwell, for over 80 years. This church also has worked alongside other nonprofits like Well in the Desert and Family Health Support Network that have helped foster positive relationships and community engagement in the Palm Springs destination. We've worked with nonprofits that have helped feed the homeless, become a cooling center, and also worked as a school for prep elementary school kids and junior high students. We want to continue this legacy to ensure that the building is still up to par, up to speed, and able to handle the next 80 years in the community as a historic building and milestone site. We want to continue to grow the fellowship and the membership as we work with all races, colors, and creeds. This church has been a beacon and a pillar of the community well before I received and moved here from San Francisco, California, back in '07. And so I would like to see more support where we have done first phase of the church, where we renovated our sanctuary and other parts of the church, but now we need additional support for the next phase. As Brother Caldwell mentioned, we have areas that we want to improve. Our classrooms, where I'm a youth minister and teacher at this church, where we need some support in updating our infrastructure to be able to handle more bandwidth for students of tomorrow. Again, we are greatly appreciative of your time and consideration. There's areas that we serve beyond these church walls. We do ministry up and down California, and we are a beacon where many churches come to visit and fellowship throughout the community year in and year out. So thank you. Enough has been said already, but appreciate the time this evening to speak to you all, and have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker of the night is Jonathan Lorenzo Yoruba.
Evening, Chair Silkins, Vice Chair Davis, Commissioners, city officials, and my co-general public behind me. I'm Jonathan Lorenzo Yoruba. I'm a resident of Palm Springs and a proud member of the LGBTQ Community Center of the Desert. I'm here tonight to thank you for all the work that you've done in reviewing not only the center's application, but all of the applications. Earlier, I was speaking with Melissa. I used to have Melissa's position with the city of Riverside, so I know what you all go through. The funding, World Today for Nonprofits, is really topsy-turvy. We don't know what's happening from day to day. Here, at the local level, you are in a position to recommend funding that is really critical for the center to serve 60,000 plus people. It fits in with the Measure J priorities. It fits in with the City of Palm Springs strategic plan, supported by the Sustainability Commission. It's a project that will outlive many of us, and it's one that will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, encourage transportation, to build a healthy and happier life for people. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you've done. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Vaughn Davies. There you go.
We've met you before, so we'll keep up, take up each of your time. I'm here for item number 37, or for element 37, the Topic Street Fair Master Plan. We thank you very much for all your attention and support for us along the way. But I thought it'd be useful for you to know who you're talking to, since we put in a very hefty application, and you probably haven't read everything, or hopefully you have, and introduce a couple of members of our team. I'm Vaughn Davies. I'm an architect and urban designer with over 30 years of experience in developing large-scale projects not too dissimilar from Topic Street. I worked on the LA River Master Plan, the waterfront in Long Beach, California, Santa Ana Riverfront as well. And so I'm very familiar with the types of projects that we're trying to initiate and develop at Topic Street to improve the public realm. And I will serve as the project manager for the project, working with the community. Catherine Salazar, who you probably all know, has 29 years of experience having worked for the city of Palm Springs in the finance department, and she is a great advocate for the community and the public, and she will use her skills to work with the public outreach for our team and develop the public meetings and report where we'd like to have the community moving forward. Jim Campbell is the current treasurer for Trino, who is a joint applicant for the Topic Street Yacht Club. And Jim has a 33-year career doing finance for large entertainment companies and will be a great steward with Catherine, I think, for the application and funding that you allocate to this project. In addition, I'd like to just mention that we have over 450 members of the Creek Cleanup Group who have shown great support for this project. Many of them show up every month to clean up the creek, and are very excited about where we've got to so far with the application. We have our annual board meeting, which is actually a creek cleanup, and you're all invited. It's a potluck on the creek, and it will be on the third Saturday in April. So you're welcome to join us at 8 o'clock in the morning, pick up some trash, or just join us for the brunch from 9 to 10, catered by our great friends at the David Stable Store in Palm Springs. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Barrows.
Good evening, members of the commission. Katie Barrows. We've met before. Thanks again for the opportunity to have some of the projects considered that weren't on the top list. I just wanted to briefly summarize a few of the kind of newer items with respect to our project. In particular, I want to continue to emphasize that the focus of the Osgood Canyon or Osgood Land Trust Prescott Preserve project is to really enhance Prescott Preserve for people who are exercising and enjoying. We've got, as I mentioned, over 100,000 people that visit the preserve. And really, there's a lot of work that needs to be done at the preserve, but this request to you is for focused on producing shade and actually planting trees to encourage and increase shade. As we described in our most recent submittal, there's been a lot of support for this effort. I will notice that in reviewing the public comments, we received 39 public comments on your website. I think we're the only one that got public comments in favor. This is something the community is really excited about. And I did want to also note that the project meshes very well with CV Link and the surrounding connections for walkability, riding bikes. And also was something that was very well received at the Blue Zone Built Environment Committee. We were excited to have a lot of people get excited about that, and it was highlighted in their report. It fits in, I think, well with the master plan, and we did get support from the Sustainability Commission and input from Parks and Recreation. I also wanted to just highlight that this does bring, I think, a diversity to the list of projects that you could consider recommending to the council on that next list of item 8D. We do have some definite flexibility on the budget. We realize that the remaining funds are limited, and we would certainly like to have the opportunity to, and we could consider very much just focusing on the tree planting, and the focus on shade, because that's really what we see as the biggest benefit in terms of climate resilience and enhancing the preserve for the community. So that's an opportunity that we would like to have you consider as making it, I think, as much as a fairly significant reduction in our budget. So I really wanted to just bring that to your attention as well. Definitely appreciate all the time that you are spending on this and the opportunity to speak to you again, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lex Ortega.
Good evening, all. My name is Lex Ortega. I'm here representing the LGBTQ Community Center of Desert and our CEO, Mr. Mike Thompson, who is out of town and sent his regrets. First, I'd like to thank you all, the Measure J Commission, for your work in presenting funding recommendations to the council. We ask for your approval of these recommendations. I am the Director of Community Programs at our Palm Springs location, and so our ask is around shade structure for public parking as well as bike racks. Folks may not know, but we see unhoused people on a regular basis at the center. There's currently no place for them to park their bikes. Sometimes they bring it up to the third floor. Sometimes they'll put it, in our parking garage. And I think having a beautiful bike rack for folks to encourage them. In fact, when I used to live by the convention center, I sometimes would bike myself to work. So I think that would be very helpful. And as folks here may know, we also operate a community food bank on Alejo. And sometimes people come to our Palm Springs location first. And so just having additional shade for people who are there getting more information will just be really, really helpful for our very diverse population. I will take off my center hat and now speak as a Palm Springs resident. I heard a couple of calls earlier today about the First Baptist Church. I was born and raised in Palm Springs, and in the 80s when I was born, the First Baptist Church ran the Child Development Center in the North End. That was my preschool. My parents could not afford, to send me to anything other than a community child development center. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I went to Stanford University. And I credit that to strong education and strong earlyhood childhood education. And that was provided by the First Baptist Church. That child development center doesn't exist anymore, but I think the impact of folks who were associated with the First Baptist Church on our community should be considered either now or in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes tonight's public comment.
Thank you, Melissa. The next item on the agenda are welcome comments from the chair. I have a few things to say. I guess I always do. First of all, I want to remind the commissioners that in order to meet the 24-25 budget deadline and the 25-26 budget deadline, which is coming up soon, Chris needs to have all of our work done no later. So tonight is an important night, and the April meeting will be the last substantive meeting that we have, where we have to get everything finalized and give Chris the opportunity to then figure out how to get it into his budget. So that is our deadline going forward. In addition, we're gonna hear some important news tonight about the calendar going forward for the rest of the year. I can give you a tip off about it now. It basically is that we have been invited to appear in front of the city council as a commission on the night of May 22nd, I believe, and at 5:30, and to present our recommendations to the city council. All of you who are on the commission are invited to attend, and we will submit our proposals for recommended funding, and the city council will ask us questions about it and then decide whether or not to fund our recommendations. So I want to make clear to both the commissioners and to the public that's here tonight and to the public that might be watching, that all we do is make recommendations. And ultimately, the city council has the final say on whether or not what we recommend will in fact be funded, and to the extent that we have asked that it be funded. So what we're doing is tentative. I just wanted everybody to remember that. Ultimately, on a number of the projects that we have recommended funding on, Joelle Montalvo, the Director of Engineering, will review them to see whether or not the projects can be completed for the dollars that we have recommended. And in addition, the Park and Recreation Department now has a new director, Nicholas Gonzalez, and several of the projects that we've already recommended for funding are on public park land, and therefore Director Gonzalez has asked for the opportunity to review those projects and to determine how and when they're going to be implemented and whether they can be implemented for the amount that we have recommended. So those projects will be going to Director Gonzalez. I think that the agenda needs a little bit of explanation going forward for tonight. Vice Chair Davis and I and staff met and decided that initially we had thought that we might exceed the $6 million at the last month's meeting. And in fact, once we all voted, it turned out that we did not exceed the $6 million budget limit, and that we still had roughly $750,000 to reach that maximum total. That meant that we could consider projects that people had put in the category of consider if funding is available later. And so what we've asked staff to do and what staff has done is they have added up the total votes of people who said recommend for funding and recommend that we consider later if funding is available. And those projects are the projects that will be considered in section 8C of the agenda, tonight's agenda, as we have amended it. So I wanted you all to know in advance how we got to that part of the agenda. I think there are 13 of those applications. On some of them, some commissioners have recused themselves, and we have to ask them to leave the room when that comes up. 8B is to recommend the projects that we recommend, or to vote finally on the projects that we recommended for funding last month. I have spoken with Director Mooney and others, and they have suggested that the best thing to do is for us to vote to fund those at the total dollars that we have already recommended. And if the city council doesn't want to give those totals, the city council will change them. But that's what we're going to be doing tonight. With respect to that, there is only one project that we recommended in which there is a recusal, and that's the egress and ingress at the James O'Jesse. And Commissioner Thigpen, I believe, recused yourself from that one. So when we get to what's now 8B on the agenda, I'm going to recommend that we vote as in mass to all but application number 40, and then do application 40 separately. And when we get to that, Commissioner Thigpen will ask you to leave the room. So that concludes my remarks. I'd want to thank the commissioners publicly for all of the tremendous work that they've done in the past. It's been very interesting and exciting, and it's been a pleasure to lead the commission throughout this year. So with that, Chris, now that you're part of the agenda.
Are you going to choose the alternate commissioner? The alternate commissioner?
Oh, what- oh, okay. Yes. Say that again, Melissa.
You need to announce the alternate commissioner that will be voting tonight.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, with Commissioner Schoen not here, then, we'll be one commissioner short, and I believe that Commissioner Newby, you voted last month, which means that Commissioner Kravitz gets to vote this month.
I've been called worse.
I'm sure I would call you work. But you get to vote tonight, and then I believe there may be one vote that we're gonna be having in which there's two recusals, and then that each of you gets to vote. So, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, thanks for correcting me.
She'll keep us straight.
Yes, with that,
Thank you,
Right,
Chair Simpkins. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you giving the importance to the commission of completing the approved projects by the April meeting. That's a very key date. So before we get into the numbers today, I do want to talk a little bit about budget in the process. So we're getting started a little bit late this year because of the community initiative project effort, but we're still got plenty of time to have good discussion on the budget if we need to. I will be bringing the first draft of the budget to the council at the next April meeting. And hopefully we'll be through a lot of the projects by then. We can have a lot of good discussion because we do have to have the budget final by May 15th meeting. And that is in order to prepare for the joint city council and commission meeting on May 22nd. So the timeline will be, we'll have a good first draft in April that can generate some discussion. And then once we have fully known all the projects that are approved that make up to 6 million, we'll have a final budget that we will review in May. And hopefully at that meeting in May, we will recommend that budget to the city council, which we will go over in detail at the May 22nd meeting. So the way the May 22nd meeting will work is all the commissioners that can attend will sit up where city staff currently sits today. And city staff will be in the audience. Chair Simpkins and Vice Chair Davis will present the budget. I believe Vice Chair, you may be out of town then. Okay, so Chair Simpkins will be presenting the budget to the city council. The city council and the Measure J commissioners will have a discussion. And the city council will either recommend adoption with changes or they'll recommend adoption as is. On that night of the meeting, that budget will then go into the entire city budget for the city of Palm Springs. Any question on budget process? Okay, numbers. First page is the summary page that we always go over, and I just want to first apologize because if you look at the last two blue columns, the forecast column has some missing numbers, and so I don't know how they went away, but they went away. But they haven't changed. Essentially, the only difference between the forecast and the revised budget is the sales tax revenue number of 21.5 million. So everything else in the revised budget is the same as the forecast. So not a big difference, but I want to point that out that it was a mistake, and I apologize. We will make sure that at the next meeting we'll have it updated. So regarding the numbers, and we'll look at sales tax, so if you can flip back to the very last page where we have kind of a sales tax analysis. Sales tax for the month of December came in at 1.97 million. That's the 2025 column next to the percentages. That is a little bit over last year's number, so that's great to see. We also saw that on the city's general fund. I don't have a good comparison of year to date for 24 and 25, but I will tell you that I'll make that more evident next meeting. But we are currently 1% over our prior year number at this time last year. So good news for our 25 sales tax numbers. We're hearing that January could be strong. February could be strong. Late spring may be a little weak, but if we can continue this trend. That of good positive sales tax numbers to prior year, we should definitely meet our forecasted number of 21.5 million. So today we'll look at the gray column as we always start out to do. And the sales tax number is at 9.58 million. We have interest income. Already this year, we're exceeding our budget of 658,000. The city's portfolio continues to be strong, earning a good rate. And so all of our funds and all of our cash is combined. And so that it has the ability to have a robust portfolio, and the Measure J fund continues to benefit from that robust portfolio and good rate. Going down, so revenue 10.2 million as through January. Just a reminder on the sales tax number, and this will be important when we get to our budget, is we are always collecting money 2 months in arrears when we collect sales tax. So when we collected sales tax for January, we received those numbers in March. When we collect it for February, we received those numbers through December. Go down to the expense side, not a whole lot has changed. We'll get to the detail on the next page, but again, the airport has installed their water bottle stations. That was $16,768 of their funds. To date, we have spent almost $110,000 in the downtown maintenance, landscaping, and security. And adopted capital projects in 25, we spent almost 4.5 million. And then the carryover numbers from the prior year projects, we've spent 79,000 on community initiated and 4.33 million on carryover from that's mainly due to the streets projects, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then we have $21,906 spent on marketing and communications, mainly related to Measure J, ballot measure to extend the tax rate after 2036. That's a summary. We'll flip over and we'll look at the projects. So we'll look at the second to the last column where we talk about fiscal year 24 and 25 expenditures. And just so you know, maybe some recommendations on how to look at this, and the way I look at it is, of course, the big projects are going to get a lot of attention. So things like the recreational LED lighting, if you look at the very first column where it says project number 1928, that's all of the lighting that went to our athletic fields at most of our parks. That project, you can see, we had $1.1 million carryover, but that project was a total of about $6 million. So we're wrapping up some punch list items on that particular project. Also, I look at projects that maybe haven't started yet that have been on this list for a while. So if you look at 19, 25, 26, and 27 in the first column, those three projects are big dollars and they haven't started yet. So we're continuing to work with our Public Works Department and our City Engineering Department to see where these are prioritized. I did see our Public Works Department, and Aaron is sitting behind me. I did see his list of projects and they're very lengthy. So one thing to consider whenever we do approve projects, this is where it's good to see projects that are essentially grants, right? Where we're giving the money, handing it over to the applicant to perform their own project. Of course, we have strict policies around the funding to ensure those projects happen, but that takes them off of our city staff list. When we do projects that are CIP projects, or they go into Aaron's list or Joel's list or Nicholas's list, then they get blended in with all the other projects that are happening. And kind of like the three I just pointed out, they kind of maybe get lost in the shuffle because every year these projects are reprioritized. And the city has a lot going on right now. So just a little bit of information on projects there. So if you look at the very second last column, the total is just over $9 million that we've spent this year in funding. The large items, if you go kind of 3/4 of the way down the page, the annual paving rehabilitation, that's the streets program that the city engineering runs. This is dollars, $4.4 million is carried over from last year. They didn't complete every street maintenance project that they had until after the fiscal year, so carried over to this year. I understand that that contract going out for this fiscal year is gonna be somewhere around 6.8 million, and I think that's going to the city council soon if it hasn't already gone. And then, of course, the 3.6 million right under that, that's part of the contributions to the Plaza Theater construction that the Measure J Foundation or the Measure J Commission granted. I believe the total Measure J helped to fund was about $7.5 million. But 3.6 came out of this fiscal year. And you can see all the other projects. One thing I do want to point out, if you look at the fifth project down, project 1916, that's the PD 911 CAD RMS. That's the public safety's computer automated dispatch, which I think we were educated on that by last meeting by Commissioner Kravitz. That project is soon to be underway. It's a large project at $2.8 million. It's a significant enhancement to our public safety and one to keep an eye on how it moves in the future. But they're really looking forward to getting that project started. I don't really have any other comments. I know Joel's not here, but be more than happy to take any questions on any. I know Aaron's behind me. He might be able to help out with some answers. So be more than happy to take questions on the projects, and then we'll go to community initiated and after questions.
Chris, I have a question. Pardon my mic. I have a question, Chris, about 1928, the recreational lighting upgrade.
Mhm.
It looks like we're gonna have a substantial amount possibly left over. If we do, that money then goes back into the Measure J budget for the following year. Is that
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. My understanding is that there's just some significant invoices outstanding. So I don't know how much will be left over, but we'll hopefully see that number in a couple of months.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, no other questions. Let's flip over to community initiated projects. And just a little bit of movement on here. The same projects going on at Demuth and the same projects going on at Swim Center. Both of those projects, I believe, are in design. Oh, I'm sorry, Demuth is up there. Swim Center is still in design, and as Joel has mentioned before, that grew into a significant capital project with a little bit of Measure J funding. So it's still being worked today, and you can see some new spending on the Palm Canyon Theater. We are beginning to get some of that work in design. I know Aaron is leading that project for Public Works. And so happy to see some movement on those dollars. They've been sitting there for a little bit, so good to see some movement on those. And what will happen when I present the first round of the budget, just so you know, all the projects that are approved, the $6 million will be added to this list. So next month, when I present a budget, you'll see any new projects on the other project list that Joel or Aaron's team may have that they want to do in 26 and 27. And then any of the projects that were approved, we'll go ahead and preliminarily put them on a list. And then once the council sees them, and if they approve them, then they become permanent and they'll go on everybody's list. So the budget that I'll present will be a format that is exactly like this. It'll be separate from our actuals. It'll be a new document, but it'll be in this format. It's the format that everybody's used to seeing. So we're going to keep it in this format.
Do you have any preliminary information on how much money Measure J will be contributing to Joel for street repairs the budget year?
I don't, and that's going to be a good topic for discussion. One of the things that we will see is the money that we set aside for the community initiated projects historically was always $1 million. And so we're going to reinstate rather than the big dollars we've been putting inside. And that was at the direction of council, by the way. So we did what they had desired to do. We're going to go back to the $1 million set aside. That fund will build up over time and give us time to get through all the projects that we are going to approve today and the ones that we already have in the pipeline. So that's going to go down to $1 million, which is going to free up a few $1 million. The library debt that is going to be issued, we won't be paying on that debt for a couple of years until the library construction gets finished. So that's going to free up a little bit more money than we had anticipated, that we thought we might have to start paying sooner rather than later. Given those couple of situations, it's possible that we could meet the city engineer's request in our 26th year of $9 million set aside for streets. We know it's important to do that. Our street goes through a grading system. And we know that we are below average on our street maintenance, and so every dollar that we can put to the street maintenance is important. I think it's important to the residents of the city. It always gets, when Joe posts his plan on Engage Palm Springs, it gets the biggest hits of anything on Engage Palm Springs. So we know that it's important to the city. So we want to try to at least do as much as we can in the next couple of years while we're waiting for some of these debt issuances for the library and the fire station to get done. And so we'll have a better look at those numbers next week, but I anticipate we could at least do better than the 6 million. It's just how much do we do better? I don't have any idea yet of the projects to be added from in the next 2 years from the city engineers department nor the public works department, but we're going to discuss that prior to our meeting. If those projects are significant, that may impact what we do with the streets program. So, but we'll have a good idea next month, and I'll be sure to include as much detail as I can. So we've got a great first draft. So there won't be many changes, hopefully, between our April draft and our final one that we present to the commission in May 15th, because I want it to get adopted before we go to the council on the 22nd.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Appreciate the update. Any questions of Director Mooney? Thank you again, Chris.
Great update.
The next item on the agenda is 8B. 8BB, I guess. 8B. Review budget allocation for recommended Measure J community initiated projects. And there are a number on there. And following through with my conversation with Director Mooney and what I said earlier in my comments, I would like a motion to approve the amount that we recommended tentatively at the February meeting for all the projects except application number 40, so that Commissioner Thigpen does not need to remove herself. Well, we have that quick discussion, and then we can discuss application 40 separately, so she can recuse herself. So I would like a motion, if possible, from a commissioner to finalize the amount that we recommended for funding at the last meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. So I guess, again, can you do a roll call vote, please, Melissa?
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Approve.
Commissioner Fedor,
Approve.
Commissioner Isaac,
Approve.
Commissioner Thigpen, approve. Commissioner Wolfer,
Approve.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Approve.
Vice Chair Davis,
Approve.
Chair Sipkins,
Approve.
8-0 motion passes.
All right, and before you excuse yourself, Commissioner Thigpen, I do have one quick comment, and that is after discussions with a Park Commissioner Nicholas Gonzalez, I would like to amend what we've just approved as application 14, G-Force Workout Health and Wellness Permanent Space. Since it is going into a public park, I would like that to be renamed with the applicant's approval. The Ruth Hardy Permanent Workout Space. And I assume that without objection, that can be done, and that makes it clear that it is a part of the project that is going to be available to the entire public and not just to G-Force.
Absolutely.
With that, Commissioner Thigpen, I ask that you leave the room, and we'll ask you back as soon as we have a vote on application 40. Application 40, to remind the commissioners, is the application to add egress and ingress, I guess, curb cuts at the James O. Jesse to relieve traffic issues that they have when people are leaving their parking lot, and to put a sidewalk in that will aid with the children making it to the community center without having to walk across the parking lot. So I will move that we approve the amount that we recommended at the last meeting on a permanent basis for application 40. Is there a second?
Second.
Right, Melissa, can you hear any discussion? You do a roll call vote on application 40.
Yes. Commissioner Cabreros. Approve. Commissioner Fedor. Approve. Commissioner Isaac,
Approve.
Commissioner Wolford. Approve. Commissioner Hopkins,
Approve.
Commissioner Kravitz,
Approve.
Vice Chair Davis,
Approve.
Chair Sipkins,
Approve.
8-0, motion passes.
Welcome back, Commissioner Thigpen. The next item on the agenda is amended item 8C. And as I mentioned in my chair report or comments earlier, this is where we're going to be considering those applications that had a majority of 5 or more total recommendations from the commission about either recommending for funding or recommend to consider later if funding is available. So like we did last month, I think it's important for us to go through each of these one by one. I will make a motion to approve each of them, although I may not have been the person who was supporting that particular project or application. I hope there will be a second. We can have discussion and then vote. But before we do, I think we should make clear that based on what we just did, we have roughly $750,000 remaining of that $6 million. We do not have to spend it all. I suspect Chris may be happy if we don't spend it all. But there is $750,000 or less available to us to consider tonight. Is that correct, Director? Yes, okay.
Yes, it is correct, and I do recommend spending. Let's get this money into the community.
Those now? Are we going over those ones now?
We're going over each of them individually now.
Because I have to be recluse from 23 as well.
That's correct.
Similar question, are we discussing 50?
Yes.
Yes, although both with respect to 50 and with respect to the
23.
there's one that's a
43.
43, 23, 43, 50 are the three.
is the Gateway Park application.
39.
39, the Gateway Park application, both of those, I'm going to move when we get to them. Or make a motion that they be continued to the April meeting so that Parks Director Nicholas Gonzalez has an opportunity to review those, because those are both applications that deal with installing things on public parks, and therefore he would like to have some input. And I think that the applicants and the Director of Parks will be meeting to discuss those applications. So those will be continued to the April meeting. All right, the first item then is the item, application 13, the application for Victoria Park Mid-Century Modern Small Pavilion. There is a range in that application of $350,000 to $600,000. I will move that we consider funding that application. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, Melissa, can you do a roll call vote on application 13?
Chair Simpkins, may I ask that, are we going to vote on the range? Are we going to vote our specific dollar amount?
Well,
Or how do you want to do that? Cause we know we have a limited amount of funds available. And if we probably don't wanna review or consider applications if we reach our ceiling.
let's see what the commissioners who may be supporting this would like to advocate, and perhaps we won't have anyone advocating it, so we won't have to deal with that issue.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question too
Yeah.
now. Do we know what the total basket of these 13 projects adds up to?
Yes.
5. So look, 5.
5 what?
No,
5 million, okay. Got it.
Yes, yeah. And Mr. Hopkins, Commissioner Hopkins has asked a
Business?
question that I think is very relevant. That is, if we were to fund at the requested amount, all of the applications that we're considering in 8CA on tonight's agenda, it would be over $5 million additional funding, and we don't have anywhere near that much money available to us.
So just for reference, it's in the new business tab. The spreadsheet with each project and the amount requested. It's a different order. Yeah,
Oh,
So we should have the range.
so we should do it in the agenda order.
yeah, it has to be,
Correct.
it has to be the agenda order.
Okay. Spreadsheet's in a slightly different order, so you just have to find it.
I have one more procedural question, though. It doesn't look like the exhibit that was in the new business section includes project 39, which I know we're not discussing tonight because of what you just said, but it should probably be considered within the same financial envelope.
Along with project 50, correct?
It's
It's
Yes.
there.
It's there.
Although those are gonna be tabled until the next April meeting.
I don't see 50.
Commissioner
on here.
Hopkins, I think you're looking at the
You're
wrong.
section. If you keep going.
It's got
to
the
new
red
business, it's
tab.
The last
Look at the new
page.
business tab.
This-
The last page of the new business. Yeah, where the tabs are. On the middle page. There you go.
Thank you. I had the wrong one.
And the reason 39 is separate is because it was a 4-4 vote. And we've had to check to see how the alternates voted in order to determine whether or not there was majority in favor of it.
Okay, yeah, sorry I asked the question. I was on the wrong exhibit.
All right. Any commissioners have any comments concerning application 13? If not, go for a roll call vote.
Are you going to set a figure here and not the range?
Well, let's first see whether or not we get a majority saying that they want to fund it. If not, we don't have to worry about the figure.
Okay.
You want, I mean, they asked for a range, so I don't know how to pick between the two numbers. So let's see what the vote is.
So
All right.
procedure, if we go through these, then it could just be we're narrowing, we're still over the budget and we'll have to do kind of a round 2.
Correct.
That would, or 3,
That's correct.
or 5. Okay. Somebody order takeout.
Ready? Project 13, right?
Correct.
Commissioner Cavaderos,
No.
Commissioner Fedor,
Funded.
Commissioner Isaac,
Don't fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
I feel like I do not fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Do not fund.
Chair Sipkins,
Do not fund.
7-1. Motion is not passed.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is application 15 at the DAP Health Campus expansion, vehicular access improvement. And that is to make improvements and provide some shade, I believe, at the DAP Health Campus. It is a request of $906,000. If I read my numbers correctly, I will move that we fund application 15. Is there a second? Can't consider it without a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion concerning application 15?
What comes to mind is, DAP does great work in our community, but this one item would greatly exceed the envelope that we have remaining.
If I may add to that, I agree. I also think that DAP has a really, robust fundraising network and infrastructure. There's a lot of, they're really excellent in making use of state funding and, grants. I think that there's a lot of opportunity. So with such a limited bucket now that we have, I would like to really look at projects that might not have such an easy go. Not that this is ever easy. I understand there's a tremendous amount of work in funding these kind of projects. And this is a very, clearly seven of us voted for it. It's very worthwhile, but I do think that with the limited funds remaining, we should perhaps prioritize projects that are smaller and more difficult to fundraise.
This is also a project from my view that's gonna require quite a bit of work by Joelle and her department because it calls for not only curb cuts, but the placement of dividers on Sunrise. And I think for that reason, it's a project that we at this point cannot approve at $906,000. Any other comments? You do a roll call, please, Melissa.
Commissioner Cavaleros,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Peter,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Do not fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Do not fund.
Chair Stipkins,
Do not fund.
8-0 motion to approve fails.
The next item is the application by One PS for neighborhood blade signs. And this application has been amended so that currently all that is being requested is funding for blade signs that go on electric streetlights in the city of Palm Springs, because those cannot be placed by the traffic department of the city of Palm Springs. I think materials were provided by Melissa. The number is roughly $45,000 is now requested for both the manufacture of blade signs and for the placement of them on the streetlights, the electric street traffic signs by licensed electricians. Do you have the exact number, Melissa?
44,601 with 36 cents.
Okay, so I will move that we approve that request of $44,000 and change. And that is significantly less than what the original request was. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Thigpen. Any discussion?
Does that mean the signs that are already up are coming down?
No. No, these are signs that will be placed
They're incremental.
at traffic intersections where there are streetlights that are, electric stop signs, basically. That where the neighborhoods cannot put those signs up themselves, and the city cannot put them up for the neighborhoods because they are on electrified poles, and therefore electricians have to do it. So this request is for both the signs and for the electrician work. Any other discussion? Right?
And so just to clarify, so they have removed their application for the neighborhood signs to be distributed to neighborhoods.
That is correct. Melissa, can you do the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Cavaleros,
Fund.
Commissioner Peter,
Fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Fund.
Chair Stipkins,
Fund.
7-1 motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is item 16, application 17, which is Palm Springs Sign Gateway Monument. And again, I'm going to make a motion that this be tabled until the April meetings, so that Director of Parks, Nicholas Gonzalez, has an opportunity to review the application and provide comments and to meet with the applicant. So I will make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of tabling application 17? But we'll go ahead and just do a roll call vote. Melissa, please.
Commissioner Cavados,
Yes.
Commissioner Fedor,
Table it.
Commissioner Isaac,
Yes.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Yes.
Commissioner Wolford,
Yes.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes.
Vice Chair Davis,
Yes.
Chair Sipkins,
Yes.
8-0, motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is application 21, downtown sidewalk improvements. The applicant, which is Grit, I believe, asked for $185,000 to improve tiles in the sidewalk on Palm Canyon. Is there a second to my motion to approve that $185,000 request?
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion?
I had a question about this, and I don't have all the information, but my understanding is that there is now some litigation issue with not specifically with these sidewalks, but with Grit in the city. Does that have any bearing on this, or would it?
I don't believe that has any bearing.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly, this project was to enhance the sidewalks on one side of the street to match the other side of the street, if I
That is
remember
correct.
correctly.
That's correct.
And this would be a city project. Correct.
Yeah, ran by the city engineers department.
Is there any other discussion? If not, Melissa, can you do a roll call vote on my motion?
Commissioner Cavados,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Fedor,
Fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Fund.
Commissioner Wolford,
Fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Fund.
Chair Sipkins,
Do not fund.
6-2, motion passes.
Next, application on the agenda is application 23, First Baptist Church, and again, thank you, Commissioner Thigpen, for recusing yourself. I believe I'm supposed to state the reason for Commissioner Thigpen recusing herself, and I think it's because she's very involved with that church and may be a member of some governing body on that church, so I appreciate her leaving the room. As I will make a motion that we approve the $100,000 application for improvements to First Baptist Church.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
I just wanted to say that I thought the woman who spoke, the Stanford grad, first generation college, who spoke about her experience with the Child Development Center was very compelling and very moving. It's great to hear.
I agree. The Childhood Development Center, my understanding, I was looking into this earlier, it actually was the first planned development center in the Coachella Valley and then went on to become a model for the entire state. Councilmember Grace Garner also is a graduate of the Childhood Development Center. Now that's not around anymore, but they recently also had the BRAF program, with the Family Health and forgive me, I'm gonna get it wrong. I think it's Family Health and Services Network. Again, a secular network that does, I think, mental health skills and, their community resilience building work with families. That's been a very successful program. I really, really think that this is a very worthwhile project. I think what we see here with this $100,000 ask is that this is a very modest request that would have a tremendous impact. The remodel is already underway. They spent 3 years basically fundraising just for members of the congregation. There's still a lot of problems with the building, as we heard earlier, it's an 80-year-old building, so the restrooms are not ADA compliant. They have, this is a real community hub for seniors, and there's not really anything else that's close in that part, this north end of the city, so. Beyond just the worship center, we have a lot of seniors that are using this facility. This is a social gathering hub. The bathrooms are not ADA compliant. So what that means is that a lot of folks are actually having difficulty using the restroom. If they have, there's folks with walkers, folks with wheelchairs. It's really becoming a challenge. I think that like some of the other projects we've already approved, First Baptist Church as a building is a larger community resource. I know that there was some apprehension, understandably, about, how this would work with city tax dollars and this also being a church, but, thankfully that was clarified by both Mayor Bernstein and, our city attorney, Jeff Ballinger, that that's not an issue, that we can fund this. These are really needed structural improvements to a historic building it's not designated historic, but it would definitely get that designation, not just for the aesthetics, but also for the history. And I think that this would be tremendously meaningful for our community. It's a very important community resource in an area that really has been historically under-resourced. And I think that this is an excellent use of Measure J dollars, and one that thankfully we can still afford at this point. So I recommend that we fund this.
My comment is that not only the speaker who was present tonight, but the speakers who appeared via Zoom and the speaker who appeared last month have made compelling arguments on behalf of this application. And I thought, again, as Commissioner Wolfer and Hopkins have both said, it is a worthy project. So with that, anybody else have comments? Without other comment by commissioners, again, can you do a roll call vote, please, Melissa?
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Fund.
Commissioner Fedor,
Fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Fund.
Commissioner Wolford,
Fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Fund.
Commissioner Kravitz,
Fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Fund.
Chair Sipkins,
Fund.
8-0, motion passes.
Welcome back, Commissioner Thigpen.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is application 36, the Desert Performs. The next stage, converting a church into a theater, is request for $989,000. I will move that we fund that application. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second. Yeah.
There is a second. Thank you. Is there any discussion of that item?
I would just make the same comment, Mr. Chair, that I made about project 15, which was the first one we discussed, is that because the absolute number is far exceeds the financial envelope, we don't fund it.
Any other comments from commissioners?
I was just gonna say, I agree with Commissioner Hopkins. I think, both would be great opportunities, but due to the amount,
Thank you, Commissioner Thigpen. Any other comments? Melissa, can you do a roll call vote on that application?
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Fedor,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
do not fund.
Commissioner Wolford,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Do not fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Do not fund.
Chair Sipkins,
Do not fund.
8-0, motion passes.
The next application is the Prescott Preserve Oswett Trust application, and on that we have two recusals. Both Vice Chair Davis and Commissioner Hopkins have recused themselves. Commissioner Davis has a financial interest in their houses across the street from Prescott Preserve, and Commissioner Hopkins has recused himself because he is a significant contributor. You heard tonight, the applicant has expressed interest in planting 440 trees according to the application in the amount of roughly $259,000. That includes 3 different kinds of trees of different sizes. My own view is that the sooner they're in the ground, the larger they're going to be and the better it's going to be for shade. So I will make a motion that we approve application 43, Nature in Our Backyard, in the amount of $259,000 and change. I don't know what the exact number is. Melissa, do you have the exact number?
No, not right now.
All right. So let's assume it's about $259,000. I think that's quite close to what the actual number is. Is there a second?
497.
497.
Yeah. All right, Commissioner, you, all right?
Oh, well,
Thank you. What's the exact number?
497.
yeah, that was the.
497,000.
No, that was the.
No, that's the whole
that
application.
was the-
We're only doing the trees, which I thought was $259,000. That my motion is to fund only the $259,000 to plant 3 types of trees, which is the application that was basically amended tonight. And not to fund the balance of the application.
I think we could
Vote on that amount.
vote
Can we
on that
vote on that
amount, and if it needs to be modified, we could re-vote in April.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Director.
We'll do it.
Is there any comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Isaac.
So if I recall, that's where well, I know the Mesquite Golf Course was there when my wife and I moved here in 2018. We lived in one of the condos right on the golf course there overlooking it. And we always remarked how nice it was to sit out in the evenings and look at this beautiful area. A question and then a comment. Who owned that land before Oswald and bought it? Was it the city?
I don't believe the city owned it. I believe it was owned by a private individual and who also owned the clubhouse as well. And then the Bel Air Greens Golf Course is owned by a member of the tribe.
Okay. And one more question and then a couple of comments. Did the city approve the purchase of that by the trust?
I don't know the answer to that, but perhaps Director Mooney does.
Did they put any conditions on it?
I don't know the answer to any of those questions.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Well, my thought is this. I'm really disappointed to see the condition of that area. It's not a very attractive area anymore in the city, in the center of our city. It's too bad. And something needs to be done to make it that way. And I may vote for the 259, okay? But what I'm concerned about is that land was just purchased a couple years ago. And I don't understand why the entity that purchased didn't have a plan to keep it up. And to allow it to go into what we see now. I would hope the city would take a look at these things in the future, the city council. When you buy a huge area like that within the city, and then it's allowed to go into what is, as we all would, I think it's an eyesore in the city. And then come back to the city to now make it nice looking again. That just confuses me a little bit there, but you know, in the interest of the work that's been done to get it to 259, the shade trees are important. I'm going to support the motion, but I hope going forward that there's some effort by the city to start taking a look at large purchases of land like this, and then just allow them to kind of go into that kind of condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate your comments. I think I can respond at least partly about what happened. And that is that after the acquisition of the land, there wound up big litigation concerning the development of that into a park or a preserve. And because it was in the court system, it could not be developed according to the schedule that those people who were supporting it had intended.
Right.
And that's the reason it is in disrepair now. And I agree wholeheartedly with you that the city needs to get more involved in this, and the city, and that the planting of the shade trees is an important step forward. So are there any other comments?
Yeah, I agree that this is such a large area of land. I mean, I don't think normally the city approves or disapproves of land transactions. But I think that, and it is unfortunate that it's had to sit for such a long time, and that's also been my understanding, is that Oswit was legally not able to do anything. They couldn't make any changes to the property while it was in litigation, so that's where we are today. I think that this will be a really wonderful resource. I think it's gonna be just an incredible project, and it is so large and right in the center of the city that, you know, I think that there should be some public interest in that. I think it would be beneficial for the city to kind of have some like skin in the game, so to speak. And so I definitely support this with the shade trees. I think also, you know, we have funded several shade trees, and you know, cumulatively, this also provides kind of a heat mitigating effect throughout the entire city. So I do support this motion, and appreciate that Oswit brought this now, that they are able to make these improvements finally.
Thank you, Commissioner Wolfer. Any other comments by commissioners? Yeah, if not, Melissa, can you call a roll call vote? And on this, I believe that both the alternates can vote. Is that correct?
Yes, we do need a second motion, or did we do a second motion?
The motion
Or
is to,
who second the motion?
Second.
Commissioner Cabreros,
Approve.
Commissioner Federer,
Fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Fun.
Commissioner Kravitz,
Fund.
Commissioner Newby,
Fund.
Chair Sipkins,
fund.
8-0, motion passes.
Thank you. Can somebody please get the recusers back into the room? Thank you. Mr. Kravitz needs exercise. He's getting up for everyone.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda is application 45. That's Don't Mind Me, Mental Health Recovery of Palm Springs. $800,000 request. I will move that we recommend funding that $800,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I kind of feel the same way I do about the other ones. Just because of the amount. It's unfortunate. I wish we had arranged for these large ones, because the amount is starting to affect the decision.
Any other comments by commissioners?
And if I remember correctly, a big bulk of this was for services, which are not really within the scope of Measure J funding.
Not infrastructure.
Right.
Any other comments by commissioners?
I will say, I agree with that, the services, but you know, I'm very conflicted on this, because I think it's a really great project. I'm really excited to see this move forward. So I have a feeling that this will Don't Mind Me is gonna be offering services and working in the community for quite a while, and hopefully down the road, there will be an opportunity for us to fund this when it's a little more related to infrastructure and when we have more funding available.
Thank you, Commissioner Wolfer. Any other comments? If not, can we have a roll call hold on application 45?
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Fedor,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Do not fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Do not fund.
Chair Sipkins.
Do not fund.
Motion to approve fails 8-0.
The next application on the agenda is application 46, Arenas District Lighting and Beautification. The request is for $333,500. I will move that we fund application 46 in that amount. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I really like the concept of this. This is something that I very much want to support. I feel like the application was vague, and I think that was ultimately my issue here. I think, having so many different projects competing, I think we really would have benefited from having more specific information on exactly what the funds were being used for. But, again, this is definitely in line with Measure J. And, perhaps the next time funds are available, we could see something more robust.
Thank you, Commissioner Wolfer. Is there any other comment? If not, can you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Fedor,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Fund.
Vice Chair Davis,
Do not fund.
Chair Sipkins.
Do not fund.
Motion to approve fails 7-1.
The next application to consider is application 47. The Owen Kaufman American Legion Post 519 Kitchen Bar and Office Interior Remodel. The requested amount of funding is $280,980. Very specific, very supported. I will move that we vote to recommend funding. Application 47. Is there a second?
I'm open.
Thank you, Mr. Futterer. Is there any discussion?
I just will briefly point out that this had 7 total affirmations when we looked at it individually offline. Is this for veterans?
Yeah.
Too?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is this not historical site at this point? You don't know.
It is.
I believe it is.
It is.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff happening there. If you ever go by, people have a lot of fun there, but they also do a lot of serious business. And this is named, this is a Kaufman, an L.A. Kaufman Owen. And I think they have not asked the city much for support. And to keep that building in good shape, I would support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Farmer. Any other comments? If
I
not,
think
we
the
do
one
roll call vote.
question that maybe Commissioner Fewer, you might have more information on this. Do they work very much with other organizations? Like, are there other
Other
groups
veterans?
that, like, are there other groups that make use of the facility?
It is open to the public. You can eat there. Eating facilities are open. You can come and have a nightcap there. You don't want to walk by there too. Yeah, yes, it is open. And I know there have been candidate presentations done there at some time. But it's used by a lot of people, but it is also a social place.
My comment is that, like a number of the projects that we've discussed, I think it's a very worthy application. But one that unfortunately we don't have enough funding for it to fund this year. And I would encourage them to make an application the next time that applications are available. but this year, I think I'm gonna vote not to fund. So with that, any other comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Newby.
Although I won't be voting on this, I do want to say that I strongly support this. I think because of the services it provides to the veterans. And from that point that there is a lot of work done through other veterans organizations, as well as supporting Veterans Day and other events that happen in the community. They worked with us when I was at Jocelyn Center for Veterans Day events that were very important. And I think it's important to support the American Legion and the Post and recognize the sacrifice and what those members have done for us. And I think they really need this funding from the city. And I've been doing a running total. If this is funded in the full amount, it would be right pushing up or just a little over 750.
Any other comments? Vice Chair Davis?
Can I ask, because we were out of the room, what was the result of the Prescott Preserve?
It was
Try to track funding.
to fund in the amount of $259,000 for trees.
Okay.
Would there be any way that a representative could come at our next meeting and what they really need, what's really important, and bring the costs down a little bit?
You're talking about application 47?
Yeah.
We could table this and bring it up at the April meeting? Yes.
Yeah, I think somebody from the organization should come and speak to us. And I requested that, but nobody has come. So I will ask again and maybe revamp what they really need.
I will accept a motion to amend
Mhm.
my motion to invite them to come and to delay consideration of this request to the next meeting of Measure J in April. Is there such?
Can I just comment, and I agree, I think in concept, I like the idea of supporting them, but you've asked them to come and they have not.
No, I'm sorry, I have a connection to.
Okay. But they've still not come throughout this whole process.
That is true.
I can make a comment. I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Newby. And it's unfortunate that this gets at the end. I have a feeling if it had been on here at the start of this exercise, it might have been funded. And it's too bad because we're down to 163,000 about what I remaining. Is that, am I right on that?
188.
Okay. You know, okay, 188. So it's unfortunate that it's at the place it is on our agenda this evening. And but there's nothing we can do about that. That's just the way it is. But I support having somebody come, and I hope they will. But let's also keep an open mind about, you know, when we get to finalize this in April, if there might be somewhere we could find a little more money if we need to.
I think that Director Mooney made clear when we get to the April meeting, we may have to adjust these numbers eventually to bring them within budget. So.
Right.
Well, and I'll just reiterate for this evening, I would not let the number stop you from voting if you want to vote, because we can go, but let's just get this first round to narrow. And then we can go back and say, okay, we're over by a certain amount.
Okay.
Now, which ones really?
Okay, that's a good idea.
And with the tabling of the parks projects too, I don't know that we would be able to approve full funding. So I think it's important, like Vice Chair said, that don't worry about the number tonight, we'll worry about the number at the April meeting.
All right. With that, what about the, let's vote on the amended motion by Commissioner Futterward to invite a representative of Owen Kaufman, American Legion Post, to our April meeting. And at this point, I guess, to table this until April, is that correct?
I would think so, because I don't remember everything they've asked for, but I believe some things are really crucial in that building, and the eating and the kitchen stuff, I think would be first. And I don't think we're talking structure or lighting or that kind of thing. So they need to be really more clarifying what is totally important to move that forward. And how old is the building?
It's
19?
quite, it is historically preserved, but I don't know how old it is.
Mm.
Well, to clarify, I mean, if we're gonna, if the idea is to maybe look at some of the amounts in April, I mean, wouldn't it maybe? I mean, I know that we're tabling the parks projects because we specifically need to get that weight so that the new parks director can review them and provide input, but for this one, you know, again, if we're not really gonna worry that much about the numbers, then maybe we can vote rather than, you know what I mean, having them ask, cause I feel like I don't wanna open a can of worms where, you know, if we're going to one applicant and saying, hey, can you adjust your proposal, then
That's true.
that, yikes, so I think, I think maybe we should just keep the original motion and vote on this.
I concur, and they submitted a very detailed proposal, so maybe what we do after this is all go back and review the short list again.
Yeah.
And come prepared in April.
All right. Accepting then the amendment to the amendment. Let's go forward and vote tonight on application 47.
Second,
Peter, second.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll never do it.
You do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Approve.
Commissioner Fedor,
Fund it,
Funded,
fund it.
Commissioner Isaac,
Fun.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
fund,
Vice Chair Davis,
Fund.
Chair Sipkins,
Fund.
motion to approve passes 7-1.
The next application is application 48, the feasibility study of a food co-op in northwestern part of Palm Springs, a request of $50,000. Is there a second to a motion I'm about to make to fund that application? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I think again, this isn't an infrastructure request, but I know that we have funded a feasibility study in advance of something that Measure J later funded, if I'm not misremembering that, but I just wish we had heard more from the applicant.
I think Chris has advised us that we can fund feasibility studies but again, the applicant has not been here to make a compelling case in favor of it, so. Any other comments besides Commissioner Wolfers? If not, we do a roll call vote on application 48, please.
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Fedor,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Isaac,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Thigpen,
Do not fund.
Commissioner Wolfer,
Fund.
Commissioner Hopkins,
do not fund,
Vice Chair Davis,
Do not fund.
Chair Sipkins,
Do not fund. The last item on the agenda for. Yes, I'm sorry. The total.
7-1, motion to approve this.
Thank you. The last item on the agenda is application number 50. And that is an application again for a desert mural that is going to be on park property, and therefore I move that motion, that application be tabled for consideration. After the director of parks has an opportunity to meet with and to talk to the applicant about application 50. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do I have to go or
Sorry, what?
do I have to leave or no?
I think just to table it, you don't have to, I don't think you'd have to leave just to table it.
Okay.
No. Is there a second to my motion to table?
Second.
A couple of seconds, thank you. 2 seconds, all right. On tabling application 50, Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Cavaderos,
Agree.
Commissioner Fedor,
Agree.
Commissioner Isaac,
Agreed.
Commissioner Dickson,
Agreed.
Commissioner Hopkins,
Agreed.
Commissioner Kravitz,
Agree.
Vice Chair Davis,
Agreed.
Chair Sipkin.
Agreed.
Motion approved.
The next application to consider is application 39, again, Gateway Park Public Art. And once again, Director of Parks, Nicholas Gonzalez, has asked that he have an opportunity to meet with the applicant and discuss that. And I will make the same motion as we just made with respect to application 50. Would that be considered at the April meeting of Mr. J Commission? Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
All right. Somebody said second. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Again, I think that was unanimous. The next and last item on the agenda tonight is 8D, which is the meeting schedule. And a couple of things about the meeting schedule. Our June meeting was scheduled to be on June 19th, which is holiday, and therefore we considered moving the meeting until June 17th. But June 17th is a meeting of the city council and all of the commissions of the city, which is a meeting that they have historically on an annual basis at the convention center. And therefore, we can't meet on June 17th either. So since we're having two meetings in the month of May, the meeting on, I think, May 15th, if I correct, and the meeting on May 22nd with the city council, my recommendation is that we cancel the June meeting and not have it at all, and then simply meet again in July.
Sounds good.
And so if you look at the schedule, that's what the schedule is. I'm just giving you an update. But I think we need to approve the calendar for the balance of the year, and those dates are somewhere in here. Somewhere in here.
Last page of new business.
Calendar's absent of the May 22nd meeting, but we just found that out, so we did get this.
Right. Is there a motion to approve the calendar with the comments that I've made?
Go through the dates again, please.
I'm sorry.
Would you go through the
There you
dates
go.
there here?
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Where?
And just for clarification, what will be the first meeting of the new cycle?
Will be
July
July
17th.
17th.
The July meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Isaac. Our second,
I'll second.
couple of seconds again. Everybody's anxious to leave, I think. So we have a vote with respect to that.
Roll call or?
I think we can just do a voice vote. Does anybody oppose the calendar dates that Melissa's put together? In the absence of any opposition, I would declare that those calendar dates are approved.
Can I just add one thing on that? All commissioners are invited to the June 17th meeting where Chair Simpkins will do a short presentation to the council. Unless he wants to delegate that authority, and it's just all commissioners are welcome. There's a dinner beforehand at 5 o'clock. It will be held at the convention center. We'll have more information for you at our next meeting, but all commissioners are invited, and all commissioners are invited to the joint Measure J City Council meeting as well on May 22nd.
Thank you, Director Mooney. Last item on the agenda before we adjourn is public comment on non-agenda items. Any members of the public have any comments? If not, I will move that we adjourn. Do you have any comments? Any further comments, Chris?
Do not.
But thank you. The meeting is therefore adjourned. Thank you. Hope you come.
I was giving you the look.
Latoya and I